Thanks for listening to Reasonable Doubt on Podcast One.
Hi, this is Daniel Roof, the Real GM Radio Podcast. One Summer League standout has been Davion Mitchell of the Kings. Known as Off Night because of his defense, he's making opponents have off nights throughout Summer League. BetOnline has free odds and lines available online or on your mobile device. Visit betonline.net today.
RockAuto.com. Why spend 30 to 50%, even 100% more for the same parts that a chain store or dealership might have? Why spend so much there? Why not go to rockauto.com? It's a family business serving auto parts customers online for 20 years. Go to rockauto.com to shop for auto and body parts from hundreds of manufacturers. Everything from engine control modules to brakes to motor oil, even new carpet. Whether it's for your classic car or your daily driver, get everything you need in a few clicks delivered direct to your door. Go to rockauto.com. See all the parts available for your car or your truck. Write doubt in the How Did You Hear About Us box so they know we sent you. An amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com.
This is Beyond a Reasonable Doubt with your hosts, Mark Garrigus and Gary Smith.
Gary, how the heck are you?
I'm great, Mark. How are you?
I'm excellent. You know, we have a wonderful guy who does research for us named Brett.
Yeah.
Brett, like you, is a fairly recent father, but he still does great work and kind of summarizes things. And today all of his work went for naught because there were two cases that just kind of came across my desk that I thought we should talk about. The first is Britney Spears, and her father has just indicated, Jamie Spears, through his lawyer, has indicated that he's going to step down as conservator.
He took a few shots on the way out, though.
Exactly.
I don't know. I'll tell you my favorites, and then I'm sure you have a couple that I missed. But I like that he basically just said that although it's not justified for him to be removed, he's going to step out of the way, trying to take the high road there and be the noble guy. And then he takes a shot at Jamie's mother, saying that she hasn't been involved in her life in like the 12 years since the conservatorship, and Brittany wouldn't even see her 2 years ago at some treatment facility. And it's just like, hey man, like, you started out with like, even though I shouldn't be removed, I'm going to do the noble thing, and then you're like, fuck you to my ex-wife. What are you doing? Come on.
The ex-wife, I guess, either filed something or made a public statement last week, and it was, as is often the case, ex-wives and disgruntled employees, or the road of broken dreams. I think it had just become untenable for him, and for all the grief he's taken, if he did this truly motivated by wanting to do the right thing by his daughter, more power to him. If he did it because he thought the judge was going to change her mind, remember, she had denied that, but maybe had telegraphed. I don't know. Sometimes people you can read where a judge is headed. And if you're smart, you can deal with it. And maybe that's what happened in this case. I don't know. But this was not court ordered, but maybe there was a suggestion or some kind of indication that this is where they were headed. It's an interesting turn of events. It allows a new conservator to come in. But at the end of the day, it still doesn't do anything for her complaints, if you will, because her complaints is I don't want to be restricted from this or that, and so it'll be interesting to see once they ease in the new conservator exactly what kind of restrictions she has on her. And one has got to think that a couple of these Instagram posts have not helped her cause in terms of, which ones I'm referring to, Gary.
Yeah, absolutely. There's several of them of late that have made her look a little nutty, and there's been rampant speculation online as to whether or not her father or other members of her team may have access to her Instagram and are posting them, in order to make her look bad, because it's just some of the stuff that she's posting as we're going through these legal proceedings. Any sane person would know that's not the best look. I mean, she posted one recently, very recently, in the last day or two, that TMZ did a whole story on because she was freaking out over how good the ice cream sundae she was eating was. And it's just like, none of it's a great look in the middle of a legal proceeding.
Yeah, and especially when you're talking about mental health, and it's a challenge. It's a real challenge. And,
well, I guess
my heart goes out to her, and I hope she's getting all the help and support she needs.
I echo your sentiment. I mean, I really hope I hope she's happy with this turn of events, and I hope that her and the new conservator can come up with a relationship that is good and healthy for her and makes her happy at the same time. Because ultimately, she's a human being, and we got to root for her mental health and everything.
Exactly. Now we're going to move on to the other story I wanted to briefly talk about. Gary, why don't you set it up?
Yeah, you sent me this article shortly before we started recording, and it outlined something I didn't know was possible. So there are a group of 8 students from Indiana University, which Indiana University has mandated that going back in the fall, all teachers, students, staff members, basically anyone who's going to be on campus has to be vaccinated unless they have a religious or medical exemption, in which case they must wear masks at all times if they are exempt, and they must be tested twice a week. So 8 students, 6 of whom I believe have that medical or religious exemption, sued the school and said that they felt that their rights were being infringed upon. The 6 that had the exemption said they didn't want to wear masks. The other 2 just said they don't like the mandate, so they sued. It went up the ranks, and eventually it got to the
district court, I believe, denied it. 7th Circuit, which is where Indiana is. There's, a number of circuits across the country, 11 circuits, I believe, and the 7th Circuit covers the Indiana area. 7th Circuit did not take any action. So then what happens is if it's on an emergency proceeding, you're allowed from the 7th Circuit to do an emergency basically plea to the particular Supreme Court justice that covers your circuit. In this case, it's Amy Coney Barrett, who is I believe, the last Trump appointee. And take it away, Garrett.
Yeah, I didn't understand that particular legal thing that you just outlined there, where you can appeal to one particular justice. So Amy Coney Barrett just denied the case and said, no, like your Indiana falls within their rights. She cited a case from 1905 when we were having smallpox issue in this country, and she basically said, no, they're within their rights. You have ample opportunity to be educated elsewhere if you don't like it. No, not happening.
And that was without referring it to the full court.
Right.
So that has been reported. In the order, do you have it, Gary? Is the case that she cited Jacobson?
I believe that it is. I'm pulling it up right now to be sure. Let's see. No, actually, the case is Classison versus trustees. Nope. Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm reading the wrong thing here. I don't have it pulled up. Let's see.
Okay. Because the reason I was going to say this is if it was Jacobson that she referenced, that is I believe it's a 1905 case. That has been roundly criticized in a series of 3 decisions by Justice Gorsuch. Originally, the first one, he was kind of the lone voice in the wilderness. The second one, he actually cobbled together some concurring opinions. And the third one is he has now done a frontal assault on it, questioning why it's become the towering presence in judicial jurisprudence, because he does not believe that Jacobson should be a case that we're relying on. First of all, Jacobson preceded or was a case decided before we had levels of constitutional scrutiny. Now we have levels of constitutional scrutiny. One of the things, if you listen to this podcast that I've been talking about, is this fight between, as I'm going up the ranks, and we're at the U.S. Supreme Court right now, and there's an order to brief, if you will, to the County of Los Angeles by September. We are arguing or have argued that rational basis, you would think a rational basis means, okay, you've got to justify it. It's got to be rational. Now, the way the rational basis has been interpreted by the lower courts is basically anything the health authorities say goes. It doesn't, there's no I always say it's almost an irrational basis. It's arbitrary, it's capricious, even though that's supposed to be what you contrast it with. A rational basis can't be arbitrary or capricious, but what has happened as a practical matter is rational basis has become arbitrary and capricious. I take the position that a lot of these mandates, a lot of these orders by unelected county-style bureaucrats are should be subjected to strict scrutiny or an intermediate scrutiny, something higher than rational basis, because you're dealing with people's freedom of association, you're dealing with their ability or right to work, and you're dealing with their businesses. So at some point here, hopefully this case that came out of the engine company and the California Restaurant Association, hopefully that gets the attention of the U.S. Supreme Court, and hopefully they rule on this and say, okay, we don't, and I'm not saying you have to invalidate vaccinations or mandates or anything else. What I'm saying is that there has to be a realistic basis upon which you are making these orders, and it has to be, I don't think that you can just delegate this ad infinitum to unelected bureaucrats. So that's kind of my beef with this. I think everybody who can should get vaccinated. So I'll state that. But at the same time, I don't think that you can have bureaucrats just making rules going on 18 months under the purview of an emergency order that by definition can no longer be an emergency.
It sounds perfectly reasonable to me. While you were talking, I looked it up. It was Jacobson that was cited, and I think that everyone can agree that given the pandemic we've just lived through, basing it off of law that's 116 years old is just probably not the best way moving forward. We shouldn't just be referring back to that. We should kind of take a look back at what we've been through and set some new standards.
Well, and like I say, it surprises me that she is invoking, she's considered part of the, people always say the right wing, but as you and I have discussed before, this court is right. It's got three sets of three, and you have to analyze it. And this is a perfect example of what I mean, three sets of three, because I would venture to say, if you're going to prognosticate, that Justice Gorsuch would never, and he's somebody who came out of the 10th Circuit, Justice Gorsuch, I would be hard-pressed to see him, after his last three opinions that have come out, one challenging the Roman diocese, one that the Roman Catholic diocese challenged, the other being out of the South Bay Pentecostal here in California. I would be shocked if he ever invoked Jacobson after he has basically dismantled Jacobson, and it's his quote, not mine, where he talks about as being elevated to this towering presence. And here Amy Coney Barrett invokes Jacobson in denying this and does not refer to the full court. So it looks like we'll see what the county responds to next month. I believe it's by September 2nd to the Restaurant Association petition, and the engine company will be filing as well. So we've got an interesting couple of weeks coming up.
One last question I'd like to ask you that we didn't discuss beforehand. How may or does the newly instated mask mandate for vaccine mandate, rather, proof of vaccine for Los Angeles County, will that tie into your case, or do you believe they'll stay separate, and will there be other litigation on that front?
Look, the point we have been arguing for is, if you want to do a mask mandate, if you want to close down outdoor dining, if you want to include, say that you can close down Angela's Pineapple Hill restaurant, but you can allow filming 25 yards away in the parking lot. If you can do those things, that they have to at least be subject to some kind of logic basis or evidence. That you just can't give somebody, as I repeatedly say, an unelected bureaucrat, the unfettered right to issue orders which are not based on any kind of a study. I go back and I would invoke Judge Chalfant again out of the LA Superior Court. Judge Chalfant said, look, you've had a year back then. It's been longer. If you haven't done a study, if CDC has not done a study, if you don't have any data upon which to make these pronouncements, then you shouldn't be making them. You shouldn't be taking away people's livelihood. Now here, for a indoor mask mandate, I can understand that by all accounts, there is a wealth of evidence that this COVID is transmitted indoors in poorly ventilated areas. I mean, that seems to be the consensus of science. So as long as you have not reached the critical mass of vaccination, I can see where, and it makes perfect sense for me, that there would be mandates so that you would not have the spread, especially in places where you have ICUs in critical conditions. I mean, all you have to do is talk to somebody who works as an ICU nurse, and they tell horrible stories and they're exhausted. And nobody should have to go through that kind of death and destruction. But at the same time, you can't just willy-nilly shut people down, take their livelihoods or whatever else when there is no evidence or when you've got an ulterior motive. And that's, I think, what I would hope that SCOTUS would take this and give a sober, detached, non-COVID constitutional view of this.
Well, I hope so too. And just because you brought it up, it brings to the front of my mind, I was in an ER this week, and I got to see sort of what's going on there, and it's not a good situation. So I'd just like to say the healthcare workers are heroes, and it was not a good situation that I was there for, and I was out, and my whole family was safe, thanks solely to the good work of those people. So
they're incredible, and I've always said that those are, them and the firemen are the real heroes of the first responders.
I could not agree more. It was the number of EMS people that were in my general vicinity very shortly after I called for them was astonishing and really made me feel very, very lucky. So thank you to all those heroes. And Mark, I think we may be trying to put together something to avoid a best of this weekend. I don't know. We'll see.
I think we're going to try and avoid a best of. Let's see if we can make it happen.
The best of is already scheduled. So if we can't pull something together, you may end up with a best of. But Mark and I are working on stuff. Dark week be damned. So Mark, thank you very much for your time. It was great to talk to you. And
Gary, always good to talk to you. Take care.
Thanks, pal. We'll see you on Saturday, one way or another.
You got it. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Beyond a Reasonable Doubt. Stay tuned for more bonus episodes coming soon.
You promise your child they can chase their dreams and become who they want to be. But college is expensive. Our promise is to help you save for college today and every day, worry-free. YouPromise.com lets you save extra money for college by doing the everyday things you already do. Save when shopping online or even at the grocery store. Link any college savings plan with the free YouPromise account and watch your child's future take flight. Sign up today at YouPromise.com for a $30 welcome bonus. Start now at YouPromise.com.